The Virginia trial of Brendan Banfield, a former IRS special agent, centers on an alleged murder plot prosecutors describe as calculated and grotesque. Banfield is charged with aggravated murder in the February 2023 killings of his wife, Christine, and Joseph Ryan inside their Herndon, Virginia home. Prosecutors allege Banfield orchestrated the killings to conceal an affair with the family's Brazilian au pair, Juliana Magalhães. They say Banfield impersonated his wife on a fetish website, luring Ryan to the home under the guise of a sexual encounter. According to Magalhães' testimony, Banfield shot Ryan and stabbed Christine while staging the scene as a home invasion. Banfield has pleaded not guilty. Magalhães, who pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter, is testifying for the prosecution and today faced cross-examination, and tonight you will see all the big moments. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Great to have you with us as we continue our coverage of this case out of Virginia involving the brutal murders of two people, Christine Banfield and a man she never met until he died right in front of her eyes. His name is Joseph Ryan, just before she was killed, stabbed to death. Now, this trial of Brendan Banfield, IRS agent, armed IRS agent, really comes down to, and it's all about one person, the au pair. And let me tell you, before the murders, Brendan Banfield and the au pair, they were kind of tight, kind of close. Here he is, behind the emoji, in the tub, married, before the murders, hanging out with the au pair, the young woman from Brazil who was supposed to be watching his daughter. Unbelievable, right? So they're really close, doing very well sexually with each other, I guess, having sex in the house while the wife is home, having sex in the tub, having sex in New York. It was unreal. Now, also before the murders, he was taking her to the gun range, which I guess is pretty standard, right? When you hire an au pair to watch your child, you want to make sure they can handle a gun, right? Isn't that the way you usually? I never had an au pair, so I don't know. Is that how it usually goes? Now, after the murders, what we saw from the au pair was some incredible acting. There she is outside the house, because Brendan has gone to the hospital with his wife because, oh my goodness, she was stabbed by that intruder. I want to be by her side. Hopefully she'll pull through. Meanwhile, the au pair stays there and is telling this horrific story of what happened. And she's saying now it's all a lie because she's on the stand now telling a completely different story. Looks a little different too. Looks a little different, right? I guess she's dyeing her hair black in prison. Did they let hair dye in prison? Maybe they do. I don't know. I've never been to prison either. I don't know. Anyhow, she's telling her story, and the way this whole case has really been framed, it's all about her testimony. Will the jury believe her? Will they trust her beyond a reasonable doubt? Okay, now, there were a series of communications that she sent to Brendan Banfield and his mom also. And she gets arrested first. Brendan is still free. So this is October of 2023. She's arrested, and now she's communicating with Brendan while she's incarcerated, waiting for her trial, and Brendan is free. These are some letters from November of 23 to January of 2024, which became evidence inside the courtroom. Take a listen.
I can bear living this without you. It's too much pain that I don't want to live like this. I can't. I just don't want to feel this way anymore. It's a torture. I love you more than anything. Well, they arrested me for the obvious reason, right? But they want me to cooperate against you because according to them, I know more than it's being said, and they say they know more than I think they know. The only way this case is not going to trial if they drop the charge, and we know they won't. They want me to cooperate against you, your son. Since the beginning, they've told us they could make, they've told us they could make from my charges something very simple called misdemeanor, and I wouldn't be charged with this if I decided to cooperate with them. They know I'm not doing that. I don't have anything to cooperate with them. With what they say that happened, I know it didn't make them happy, so they will do anything to hold me here, anything for them to win. They've got it so far, right? I have no idea what they are making up, faking stuff, lies, etc. I would give my life for his, and I would never do anything to hurt him or against him. Whatever they're saying, whatever they want to believe, I don't care. I would take the blame for both of us. I would do anything for you. If they want me to turn against you, if they think or whatever they believe, and if they want to blame me for that, that's okay. I can take the blame. I'll never do anything to hurt you or against you.
So early on, she's standing by her man. Remember, this is the first few months that she's been behind bars. Now we move forward to January of 2024. She's getting a little frustrated because her trial date keeps getting pushed back. She's frustrated with her own lawyer, and the trial is now scheduled for the spring of 24. She sends this next communication in January of 2024. And at this point, she's going to go to trial unless she testifies against Brendan. Let's take a listen.
Nobody is more afraid and sad, upset than me. I'm the one facing life in prison. Even though we are confident and positive that we have a strong case, we don't know what's going to happen. I can forever. Will be up to 12 people to decide. I really just hope I have the chance to be with them again, back home. I really do. I can't stand the thought of not being with them anymore for my own mistake. I would never forgive myself if I couldn't see them after all this. Sometimes I just think to myself, like, I can't believe I'm facing life in prison for someone. Then things weren't supposed to be this way, right? But people are stupid, including me, and make mistakes, act without thinking. That's all I did. I wanted to make sure you get this letter through Ryan. I would feel if we were able to get a guilty plea for me, that would be pleaded guilty for voluntary manslaughter, plus time served, plus not testify against you, plus deportation. Well, that actually sounds good if he gets it for my case instead of facing a murder charge, plus sentence. Since the beginning, what they tried to get from me was for me to testify against you. So maybe they would give us that under the condition if I turn against you. A lot of people end up turning against the other person. They either broke down after a few months in jail or they got a good deal.
And you can see what's happening here. She's getting offered this great deal. My guess is she's probably talking to other inmates, and they're like, just testify, get out of here. Why wouldn't you, right? But now Brendan knows, looks like she's kind of turning on him a little bit because she's being offered this unbelievable deal by prosecutors. Now, this next communication is in the spring of 24. At this point, she is really angry with her attorney. Like, she does not like her attorney. Attorney's flaking out on her. And at this point, she really begins to question the relationship with Brendan and sends this letter.
I don't expect much from Brendan. Whether I come back or got deported to Brazil, for various reasons. Valerie, his career, family, fight with Christina's parents, etc. And I'm very honest. He knows what I think and feel. Even though he wants to be with me, it's more complicated than it seems. And the other part says, that's why Brendan's mom and I got really mad at him, because he says he's coming to see me and he doesn't come. She keeps calling him, drives to his office, and nothing. she pushes him and calls his attention. Now it's getting close again. For me, it is a long time, but for them, 100 days isn't much. And finding and hiring the people who we need, etc. But I think he doesn't care. Time is money. The longer he pushes things back, the more money it will cost. Ridiculous. And the other part says, Brendan and I, we are different in many ways. Money, career, culture. We are only the same about sex, LOL. But still, if I can, I want to make it work.
So there in those letters to her friends and family, she's really questioning Brendan, and Brendan's not visiting her anymore. Little problematic, right? Now, let's flash forward to September of 2024. Huge game changer at this point. Brendan Banfield now is arrested. The next letter you're going to hear is not written by Juliana. It's her mother sending her a letter, I guess from Brazil. So this is Juliana's mother communicating to Juliana, the au pair, after the arrest of Brendan Banfield. Take a listen.
It says, but it seems that I was guessing he was guilty and putting the blame on you. At least you'll get rid of this. I don't know if it will be good for you to tell. I'm afraid she might block you from being able to talk to us. But you know what is best, because she probably doesn't know that he planned it. If you tell Mimi, tell her not to cut you off from your mom, please. Tell her that it was who planned it.
It appears she's telling you to tell Tess or them that Brendan planned the whole thing.
Well, that's what she said, yes.
Okay. And what I'm asking is, was that the day when you told the police that Brendan planned the whole thing?
I had mentioned to my mom before about the plea. I had mentioned to her that I was thinking about taking the plea. And I had the reasons I was scared of why I didn't take the plea. And this message, that's when I told her that I had signed the plea, and that's what she responded to me. But she was aware before that I was thinking about taking the plea.
So you had signed the plea on the 26th of October?
Now I don't remember the date.
Do you remember the plea as being October 29th? 3 days later?
Yeah, the picture said yes.
Big point there from the defense, right? Your mother's the one telling you to say that Brendan is the one behind all of this. It's not coming from you, it's coming from your mother. So you can get out of prison and you can get back to Brazil. Let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft. Join us live from outside the courthouse in Fairfax County, Virginia. Great to see you, Kelly. What a huge day today. You know, there's a bunch of witnesses in the trial, but to me, like, today was the day. This was it. What's your takeaway from the way all this testimony came out about how she got from point A to point Z, which was accepting this plea and deciding to testify against Brendan?
Well, hey there, Vinny. The tone of how these letters changed, you could just feel it inside the courtroom. She's reading these letters, and at first, as you were just playing, it's talking about how much she loves the man that she was having this affair with, her former boss. She was the nanny for him and Christine and the 4-year-old little girl. And eventually, she's just telling him how she's now suicidal. So it kept getting worse and worse, just her pain inside. And then, as you mentioned, he's not coming to visit her. Well, eventually, her tune changes, and she begins saying things, and she was reading these letters in court, how that all of a sudden, I'm not going to take the blame for something that I had nothing to do with. And then it started talking about really her future, some of the tone of her letters and what she could get. What did we deserve? So defense counsel was really asking her about one particular thing she wrote, what do we deserve? This was communications with her family back in Brazil. And what she was talking about is this deal with Netflix, a possible deal with Netflix, and how they had contacted her and they were offering her money for her her story and how they wanted pictures of her and her childhood, and she was telling her family back in Brazil all about it and talking about what kind of money we could get, upwards maybe she wanted to negotiate over $100,000. And so defense counsel was saying, why do you think you deserve that? You were writing, this is what we deserve. Why did you deserve it? What do you deserve something for? And she said on the stand, just for all the torture and pain that I had to go through. So interesting day inside the courtroom. She was on that stand the entire day, a brief finish of the direct examination, then right into the cross, which lasted the majority of the day. There was a short redirect at the end. But yeah, on the stand all day, and interesting to say the least.
Oh, absolutely. And also interesting to hear how Netflix gets their content for their documentaries. They pay for it. Interesting. Okay. Let me ask you this, Kelly. Inside the courtroom, reaction to her testimony, specifically those 12 people whose faces we never see on TV.
And Vinny, what a contrast from yesterday's testimony when jurors were leaning in, heads tilted, really just listening to every single word, what was going to come out of her mouth next. Today, you could really tell they were suffering from juror fatigue because many of her answers were, I don't know. I don't recall. I don't have the time. I don't have the date. I don't know the location. At times, she was getting frustrated with defense counsel. She at one time said to him, Vinny, I'm not going to do this anymore. The defense counsel then told the judge, well, she's saying she's not even going to be answering my questions. The judge had to tell her, you have to answer his questions. And so repeatedly, he kept putting up different messages that were posted on that FetLife account, asking her, have you seen this? Have you read it? Is it you or Brendan? He couldn't get a straight answer from her if Brendan wrote these messages on FetLife or if she did. And so this went on and on. Finally, he got her to admit that, did she write at least more than 2 of these messages? She said more than 2. Then he went up 10, 20, 30, 40. She said, we could do this all day. So you could sense her annoyance. She visibly was annoyed and expressed it as so. And the jurors, like I mentioned, Vinny, you could tell they just were getting tired. And even the judge called it an early day today. It wasn't that early. It was 4:30, but she said, I am going to call it an early day today. It's been a long day of testimony for all of you. Go home and get some rest and come back tomorrow.
All right, Kelly Craft in Virginia. Thanks so much, Kelly. We'll speak again tomorrow. All right, let's bring in our think tank live in studio tonight. Criminal defense attorney, law professor. Oh, wait a minute. It's out of order. Criminal defense attorney, former assistant state attorney in Miami-Dade County, former assistant DA in Atlanta, Daryl Cohen. Next to him is criminal defense attorney and law professor Meg Strickler, along with CEO of Georgia Trial Consulting and national trial attorney Madeline Somerville. Great to see everyone tonight. Let me start first with the fatigue, Daryl. Is that advantage defense, advantage prosecution if they start getting flustered and aggravated with the witness here?
I think it really depends on the body language and the facial expressions of the 12 people that you mentioned that we can't see, that hopefully Kelly was able to see. I think if they liked her testimony yesterday, as Kelly indicated, and then today it was, oh my gosh, I got to deal with this again, and she's not answering the question, couldn't understand her, I think it's probably okay for the prosecution. I think they've made their point, and we know what they're going to do, which is a verdict.
Do you know how we used to have those signs that said, you know, prosecution or defense?
Yeah. Back in the old show, we used to say, who won today? Prosecution or defense, who won?
I think prosecution won today. I do.
Big time, big time. How about the point at the end, though, Madeline, where we're talking about her mother is the one who says, well, why don't you just say that Brendan did it?
It's a good shot. It's a good creative way to frame it, and that's the defense attorney's job, is to create a new framing and to not accept the framing that the other side has offered. And I liked the date point too, because it got her to say, because she had said so many times, I don't remember what date it happened, then she gets more and more aggravated and frustrated. But overall, I still think the prosecution won out today. I think your point about not being able to hear her was very well taken too. It was frustrating the jurors all day probably. I'm sure they were exhausted because being able to follow along with everything is a really big part of it.
Yeah, the whole case is her, isn't it?
No, there's other stuff. Remember, there's the forensics, there's the digital technology, there's all that things. Yes, she corroborates a lot of it, and yes, she created this whole story, but the Fat Life
aren't there
postings-
certain elements to the crime that they have to believe her beyond a reasonable doubt?
Yes, but no. Keep in mind, he's a former IRS agent, and a good segment of our population, whether the agents are good or bad, don't like them because they're coming after me and my money.
100%.
And that may mentally stop.
But are they going to like her?
No,
Does
but they'll
anyone like her?
him more. Dislike him more.
You think
because
so?
he was
Yes.
And she's not a nanny, she's an au pair.
And she's young, she's vulnerable, she's not from this country. I'm not defending her. I'm not saying that. But between the two, remember whose trial this is. All we're trying to do is use the
she's
facts.
going back home after the trial.
She sure is. And she'll probably have some Netflix deal, I have a feeling, because we've been talking about it. But there are a lot of parts of this case and lots of parts of the storyline that I think the jury, even though she's not a very palatable character, they're going to believe some aspects of her testimony.
All right, Think Tank staying with us. When we come back, we're going to take a look at some of the photos, some of the social media posts that was done during the course of this affair. Unbelievable. Plus, coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Investigates, prosecutors say Paul Canaro murdered his own brother, Keith Canaro, then turned on Keith's wife and children before setting their home on fire. Investigators allege the blaze was meant to destroy the evidence. Was this a carefully planned family annihilation or a sloppy alleged crime of desperation? Tonight, we investigate. Did an affair lead to double murder?
The Commonwealth's Attorney's Office has secured an indictment against Brendan Banfield for the murder of his wife, Christine, and the murder of Mr. Ryan.
Prosecutors allege the defendant planned to run away with the family's au pair. So he killed his wife and another man.
He was saying, I'm gonna kill her, I'm gonna kill her.
It's a case of sex, lies, and deadly deception.
The Au Pair Affair murder trial. Live coverage weekday mornings on Court TV.
At some point, while you were working for the Banfield family, did your relationship with the defendant change?
Yes.
How did it change?
It became sexual, physical relationship.
And do you recall when the relationship changed?
It was August 2022.
Yeah, it became sexual. I've got some things to show you. You ready? You send the kids out of, no, it's not that bad. But maybe for this first one, you might want to send the kids out of the room. Now, I want to give the date of this. This is December 30th of 2022, and apparently, Brendan, the husband, father, and the au pair are in New York City for New Year's. Here they are in the tub. Take a look. He's behind the emoji, and I think he's smiling behind that emoji, by the way. The caption is obviously she's from Brazil, so it's in Portuguese, so I translated it. This is the best I could do. So guys, I've been very much a love-struck idiot since July of last year. So she's dropping the L word. She's in love with this IRS agent. Wow. Okay, let's move forward one day. The 31st, New Year's Eve. That is her left thigh, and I believe his left hand. The translated caption from New Year's Eve is, "My New Year." Now, notice the dress. You can see the bottom of the dress, that gold dress, because you're going to see it again in the next photo. These are all from Juliana's Snapchat. Take a look at this. Now you see the top part of the dress. She's smiling, and there's the man behind the emoji. This is undated, but it does appear to be from New Year's Eve. The translated caption, "I ended and started the year with the hottest one." Ha ha ha. Okay, it's not necessarily telling the truth there. He's not the hottest. We'll have that discussion later. I've got another Snapchat. Now, this is unbelievable. Think about it. He's posing for these pictures and allowing these pictures to be taken. He's married. And he's in the tub. Oh, let's take a picture. But it's not just photographs. There's a video. Take a look.
I don't really know this. You do. You don't sing.
I know the chorus.
I need you. I miss you.
Like, that's his voice. And now I'll translate for you from what's on the screen there as best I can. Guys, I can't, because I made him sing with me in the car. He's American, but he's never watched White Chicks. So I told him about this part. Apparently, I guess that's part of the movie. I didn't see that either. I'll have to put it on my list. All right, another photo. I don't have the date on this one, but again, another interesting photo from her Snapchat. The translated caption, I think I got this one a little bit wrong, but I'm close enough. The hot guy takes really well-taken photos. The hot guy, like he's the hot guy. Brendan Banfield's the hot guy, folks. Why are they at the gun range? All right, let's bring back in our think tank. Is this shocking that they're being so out there with the affair and all?
You know what it reminds me of? They were in school. School was his wife, and they're now at recess, and they're playing, having a fun time for as long as it lasts. Of course it's shocking.
Listen, people don't understand social media. I don't understand why, but I can't tell you how many clients I've had post really stupid things on social media. So this is just par for the course.
That's been my experience too. And I understand that young people, they use the social medias in general. And I did enjoy the name, the man.
Oh, wait a minute, he's not wearing his wedding ring.
Oh, that's right.
That's shocking.
That's shocking.
Look, all of this is good for the prosecution. Smart people act smart most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
He was an IRS agent that should have been smart, dumber than dumb.
But let me ask you this, because I think what the defense is banking on, that they really hate her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really hate her. And they have to believe her, right? Can you hate someone and trust them at the same time?
Yeah, so I don't know if they have to believe her. I think that they just have to it's very difficult, because when you are a juror, even if you're not supposed to, you come in leaning one way or another. She just has to confirm their belief about her, right? Because they're coming in, they probably don't like her already. Now she sits up on the witness stand, and you can't understand what she's saying. She's been monotone the entire time, which indicates, even if it shouldn't, it indicates to jurors that she doesn't care that much, right? Because it indicates that she's detached. Even when she's reading these emotional things and speaking emotionally about this stuff, if they don't like her, they can throw her in to the pile of everything she says I could throw out the window. And once they've crossed that threshold with her, now the prosecution can just roll with it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the facts of this case, the storyline behind this case, and all the corroborating parts of it don't help the defendant. He is not a likable person. She's not likable, but the facts are really not likable.
But she's the eyewitness to the murders.
Correct.
That's the direct evidence.
And she walks out the door with a cheap plea. I think the jury's going to hate her,
Yes.
and they may be very disappointed that she got the cheap plea, but when cooler heads prevail, the jury will understand that absent her testimony, it would be far more difficult for the prosecution.
Absolutely.
And that's what they're going to ultimately walk away with, is she helped fill in some of the holes, which may or may not be true.
I don't think they could win this case without her.
I don't know. You can always try. And there's who else would have been the person that would have killed? Not her. That's obvious.
Yeah, to me, the 911 call gave away everything that you needed to know. People are a lot better at assessing whether or not someone is lying and whether or not somebody should be believed when they're not the one in the hot seat. So jurors actually do a really good job of assessing credibility. When they played that 911 call, I think it was very clear that he was using like pronoun language. Instead of saying my wife, he was saying, oh, this person, that person, as if he didn't know what was going on. It was just clear that it was messy.
I agree. And that's the corroborating evidence. There are parts of this case that just all point to him as the mastermind and his prior career mastermind. He's the guy who's putting all those little pieces together. We don't like him.
The jury's going to realize she's not that bright to be the mastermind.
Yeah.
When we come back, we're going to examine her body language. We'll bring in an expert and see what... We know what her mouth is saying, but what is her body saying?
What ultimately made you decide that you were going to enter this plea?
Was the the thought of being the right thing to do. I guess we all deserved to know what really happened, and I just couldn't hold it. I just couldn't keep it to myself. The feeling of shame and guilt and sadness and all those feelings.
And there's that little part about going back to Brazil after she testifies. That was the little piece of why she took the plea and admitted everything and told the story to the jury. All right, so is she telling the truth? What is her body saying? Let's bring a special guest, behavioral and social scientist, Dr. Abby Morono. Great to see you, Dr. Morono. You ready to take a look at some testimony here?
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to show you two pieces, and we're going to show them back to back. One is her, the au pair, describing how the defendant, her boyfriend, boss guy, shot Joe Ryan. Then she'll describe how she shot Joe Ryan. Let's take a look and a listen.
From my point of view, all I could see was like Joe. At the moment I knew it was Joe, like on top of Christine, in a way I would only describe holding her down. Brendan said he yelled, "Police officer," and Christine's first reaction, that was the first time I heard she say anything at that point. And she yelled back at Brendan, saying, "Brendan, he has a knife." And yeah, that's when Brendan first shot Joe.
Did you see Joe before he was shot?
Yeah.
What did he look like when he saw Brendan?
Shocked.
What did you see Brendan do next?
When I was bringing him the towel, he got on top of her, and that's when I first saw him stab her with a knife.
Where in her body was he stabbing her?
Her neck. I'm telling Brendan that Joe is moving. He was moving, and Brendan, he doesn't have any reaction to that whatsoever. And I just start telling him, he's moving, he's behind you, and that's when I fired the shot too.
That's when could you say that again?
I fired.
And when you say you fired what?
A gun.
The gun that was where?
In my, that I had in my pocket, the handgun.
Did you hit anyone?
Yes.
Who'd you hit?
Joe.
Okay, let's bring in Dr. Abby Morono. Dr. Morono, your thoughts about her testimony and as she's describing the most important part of this trial, the most important moment, the moment that Joe Ryan and Christine Banfield are killed.
Well, the very first thing you notice is that flat affect. She's very monotone. We don't hear any overt expressions of emotions we would expect, like sadness or fear. And she has very limited facial expressivity. When someone is recounting events involving extreme trauma, especially if they were directly involved or witnessed it, the nervous system can blunt emotional expressions. So that flat voice and reduced facial movement could reflect that emotional numbing. It's a really well-documented trauma response. And in some cases, people suppress emotions to avoid appearing unstable or emotional. But that's more common when someone believes that showing emotion will undermine credibility, which really isn't the case here. it actually would have benefited her case, I think, to appear a little bit more in emotional distress. It was even mentioned earlier by this think tank how her being monotone makes her very unlikable. So to me, it appears that that's more likely to be because of that emotional blunting, that we're not seeing those expected expressions of distress and sadness, especially because she's describing such a difficult experience. You would expect to see at least a little bit of sadness. These lip corner depressors, when we feel sadness, they pull down naturally, and we're not seeing those movements, so it may be that emotional numbing.
You know, while we were listening to her, we also had him on the screen. And I know he's probably been told by his lawyers, just write. So, but did you see anything from him? Because I just got very uncomfortable looking at him.
Yeah, the nonverbals felt artificial. They didn't feel natural. And sometimes we pick up on other people's nonverbals because the nervous system is constantly scanning the environment, and it's called neuroception, which simply means we pick up on others' behaviors without consciously realizing what it is, but it's sending signals of either safety or threat. So with him, we have this kind of uncanny valley feeling that something isn't quite right, but we can't put our finger on what. And it's because he doesn't appear to be expressing any emotions, but it feels purposeful. It feels very robotic. And again, it's very unexpected for a circumstance like this. You would expect to see some emotions being expressed.
Yeah, I mean, between the two of them, they look like they're the perfect match for one another. The au pair and the IRS agent. Like, devoid of humanity, both of them. Unbelievable. Dr. Morono, great to see you. Great to have your insight. Thank you so much. Let's get back to Daryl Cohen, Meg Strickler, Madeline Somerville, our think tank. Dr. Morono, right on target here. And, you know, looking at him, like, I was uncomfortable. I don't like him either.
I think
so. I'm putting these two peas in the pot and I'm cooking them.
I don't like him at all, but he's not supposed to be likable. At his previous job, he wasn't likable. His current situation, he's not likable, and his next situation, it won't matter.
Now, what about his defense? Because his defense, like in the opening statement, I didn't hear his attorney say that he's not guilty. Like, I didn't hear that part that you usually hear in the opening statement. We didn't hear that. And it was more about her and her credibility. Can they just do that without having any sort of alternative explanation to the jury that, oh, she did it, or Joseph Ryan really was a home intruder? Can you argue in front of them without offering something other than what the prosecution is saying?
It's not our burden. Remember the burden.
No, not that it's not your burden, but like, would it work?
Well, it can, and it has for me. You just punch holes in their storyline and show that they've not made their case beyond a reasonable doubt.
But he did shoot Joseph Ryan.
Well, this case is not a good one. And you were talking about his body language. It looks to me like he's been exposed, and he's just shameful that everyone found out who he really is. That's how I look at him as.
Yeah, but like, I was expecting either one or the other. Like, she's lying, it was all her, she set this thing up and I walked into it and I didn't know what was going on. Or Joseph Ryan really was a home intruder and my wife was into BDSM.
Right, so here's the thing, and politicians actually know this very well. The person who is able to put a complete narrative to the story first wins. Because once you've established that in people's minds, it's very difficult to get it out. And here, when you're saying, well, shouldn't the prosecution or the defense be bringing forward every little bit of the story and how that could either work or not work? Absolutely. It's very difficult to undo it, and it's dang near impossible for the defense to win if they don't offer a complete alternate theory. I've seen people make that mistake in criminal and civil cases.
Poking holes is great, but it's not enough. You have to have your alternative story that's credible and believable. Not necessarily do we buy it as a jury, but it is possible.
Right, and this isn't a whodunit, right? This is like, we know that he came in there, shot Joseph Ryan, she shot Joe Ryan, and somebody, the only thing we know is somebody stabbed Christine. Somebody who's in that room. It's either the au pair, him or Joe Ryan?
To me, it's the 911 call. And I'm a jury consultant, so I've loved listening to Dr. Morona. I think she nailed it too and said it in a much more facile way than I'm about to. But when I saw his reaction, first of all, he's wiping away tears that don't exist. And I didn't miss them because his forehead isn't indicating that he's crying, right? Even if he's covering up tears, his facial expressions are not letting anyone see that. I didn't see or feel any sadness from him. It was just shame and embarrassment, because now everybody has to listen to this, and he's worried. The other emotion was worry that he's going to get caught, that people are going to be like, do they know that I'm lying? Is that clear? And obviously this is speculation, but we're using all these little pieces of social science and experience to be able to put the puzzle together.
Yeah. Any chance he testifies?
0 minus 400.
I wouldn't let him. No way.
All right.
Never.
Big thanks, Daryl Cohen, Meg Strickler, and Madeline Somerville. Great to have you. All right, when we come back, I'll reveal something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, a burning home in Colts Neck, New Jersey revealed a horror no one could imagine. Police allege Paul Canaro killed his brother Keith, then wiped out Keith's entire family. How did a brotherly feud allegedly escalate into one of New Jersey's most chilling murder cases? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
I'm going to ask you a lot of personal questions.
From the crime scene to the courtroom, this is Victim to Verdict.
Everyone has this heightened sense of anticipation.
Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Take a look. Murder weapon found. This, of course, in the case of Spencer and Monique Tepe, the couple from Columbus, Ohio, who were murdered. The suspect, Monique's ex, and the chief spoke about this at a press conference. Let's take a listen to what the Columbus Police Chief, Elaine Bryant, had to say about the alleged murder weapon.
This was a domestic violence-related attack. As we know, McKee is the ex-husband of Monique Tepe. We can say that we have the suspect's vehicle on neighborhood video surveillance arriving just before the murders and leaving shortly after. Detectives were able to link this vehicle to McKee. The vehicle was located in Rockford, Illinois, and evidence was found that showed McKee in possession of the vehicle before and after the homicides. We can also say that multiple weapons were taken from the property of McKee. And there's a preliminary link from our NIBIN to one of the weapons that ties it to the homicides.
Boom, that is huge. That is absolutely huge. The surveillance video, great, great, great. But if you can match a weapon found in his home to the shell casings and the ballistics at the murder scene, you've got him. You've absolutely got him. We'll stay on top of every development in this case for you folks on this program. Right now, I need you to take a look at your television screens. We have a missing child who needs your help. This is Haley Busby, just 17 years old, missing from Fishers, Indiana. Here's what you need to do. Take a look at the picture. If you see Haley, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference. You can call 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Fishers Police Department in Indiana. That phone number's on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Haley to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We've got another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.